This is going to be super easy because I feel like everyone loves Resy, and we've seen it absolutely ever.
Unless you need to change your reservation, and then it's not so great.
Oh,
no.
Okay, we got to talk after.
All right, we're going to get into that. Anyway, so yes, I'm Eric Gaffey. I'm at Liftoff. We're a performance marketing company that focuses buying 100% programmatically into in-app inventory, and we drive users to the Play Store, App Store, or mobile web, so email signups or store geolocation or geofencing. So anyway, it's great to have you today, Hannah.
Thanks, Eric.
Can we start off with sharing with us a bit of your journey? How did you end up as the CMO of Resy?
Sure. So thanks so much for having me here today. My journey starts not in dining. It actually starts not even in financial services, but actually in fashion PR. So immediately graduating college, I knew I wanted to hit the streets of New York and get into communications and work at an agency. And I honestly believe that that is the best training ground for anyone that wants to be expert in brand and in marketing. You learn how to be a jack of all trades, learn how to deal with all different types of personalities. And through that experience, I learned that what became important was being able to actually craft the brand and really craft the product that I was working on. And I thought with PR, it was great to hold the megaphone, control the message, but getting the opportunity to go in-house was what I wanted. So I found a role at American Express working in small business. And what was really insightful about my time first starting at Amex was the obsession over the customer. And in the small business division, we had just done a study on the brain of a small business owner. And in that study, it came out that the number one need was getting more customers. And this is, back in 2010, e-commerce is booming, Main Street is suffering. So the idea spurred to do something called Small Business Saturday, where we really celebrated and highlighted and supported all of the businesses that we love on Main Street. So getting to be a part of that campaign, working through all the social components, now it's a national holiday, many, many years strong, was an amazing experience. After that, I launched into our digital partnerships and development division, which is where we spent time figuring out how American Express could partner closely with Apple, Google, Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, and figure out how we could add value to our American Express card members based on the platforms where they were engaging. And in that experience, which was a little bit different than my time in Open, it was much more around how do we partner with product and engineering to create a brand and to create a community and to provide value in a deeper way. And then after that, ended up at our global premium products and benefits division within American Express, and that kind of leads me to Resy. So I was responsible for our premium content, so Departures in Centurion Magazine, our dining benefits, our entertainment benefits, and dining really became the place where I spent the most time, and that's because it's the category that represents the highest spend for our card members, second to only retail. And we knew we needed to figure out how to kind of crack the nut of providing value to our Amex card members that straddled search, discovery, curation, was digital, and when the opportunity came to acquire Resy, we jumped on it. So that was back in 2019, and ever since, I have been part of the Resy leadership team.
Absolutely awesome. All right, so I want to move to something a little bit fun here.
Yes.
Can you give us top 3 to 5 locations that we can book here in Miami in this madness via Resy? Maybe global dining access, maybe I'm stealing a little bit of your thunder. Do you have any recommendations for those in the room?
Sure. Well, I'm going to have to time box this, and it's a little bit relevant because you guys are all here in Miami, but Miami is one of the hottest markets that we have on Resy right now. Thank you. And as part of being in Miami and why we're here, not only to speak with all of you lovely people, what we wanted to do is actually celebrate a program we have called Global Dining Access. Eric's a big fan. He should probably explain this to you more than me. But what that is, it's a premium card offering for our Amex card members that allows our card members to book exclusive table access at now 500 plus restaurants all around the world. So think Carbone, think Contessa.
Yes. Yes. Keep going.
And what we wanted to do for Miami is, knowing that a lot of our card members and Resy guests would be down here for Basel, wanted to create an experience that was truly one of a kind and celebrated not only the art, but complemented that with the cuisine. So we actually have a special pop-up going in the Design District right now, part of our Global Dining Access program, where we had Massimo Bottura from Modena, Italy, come for the first night and Tuesday, made that exclusively available for our Global Dining Access members. Yesterday was open to the public, where we did a full gallery day, and we had over 500 guests come and visit and enjoy bites from Mike Solomonov, who just opened up in Brooklyn. He's a Philly mainstay. I'm a Philly girl, no bias there at all. Tonight we have Missy Robbins, and then tomorrow we have Mashama Bailey from The Gray. So if I had to say where you needed to eat, you should try and get on our notify list to snag a table at our event. I know, we sold out. Sorry.
All right, whatever. But okay, cool. All right, so I also want to, a little bit off the cuff here, I want to say that I don't know how many of you are in sales, but I'm in New York, and trying to get people out of their apartments or into the city is a little bit difficult. And Resy is literally practically a sales tool for me. Using the Global Dining Access, I can send over 4 or 5 options around their office, around their home. I'll show up at your door. We'll bring the food. But anyway, that's just a little side note. I wanted to highlight that. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit, Hannah, and go into something that is a little bit more serious than my personal preference of using apps. So coming out of the pandemic, which I'm sure was an incredibly difficult time, not just for Resy, but for all of us and all businesses, we're now looking a bit down the barrel of what appears to be a difficult 2023. And as you sit as the CMO of Resy, how are you thinking and approaching your marketing strategy, both with the experience of coming out of the pandemic, and is that influencing you as you look at 2023 and where you're going to make investments and how you're going to direct your team?
That's a great question. So to talk about the future, I'm going to actually rewind first during COVID-19. And the tactic that worked for us then, and I'm going to bank on for the upcoming headwinds, is really listening to our customers and really being in service of what they need. So if we think about the pandemic, the restaurant community was decimated because 90+% of their revenue comes from in-restaurant diners, and that went away overnight. So during the pandemic, we talked and really listened to a lot of our top partners and said, how can we help you? And it was really figuring out how guests could get to experience Carbone or Lilia during different circumstances than they were used to. And from that spurred a couple of things. One, partnerships with Goldbelly, where you could actually order from many of our Resy restaurants and have that sent to your home. Waiving Resy fees. We made Resy OS completely fee-free for all of our restaurant partners. And then for the guest demand, we created something called our Outdoor Villages and our Yurts program. So we actually have a yurt guy where we went and sourced COVID-safe, outdoor-friendly dining solutions and sponsored to have those as available dining room extensions for our restaurant partners. We thought that COVID would be over. This was back in April of 2020, and thought it would be a fun, kind of gimmick and thing for the winter, but it ended up being the lifeblood of a lot of these restaurants. So we were able to expand that out to over 40 different restaurant partners around the country. Going into 2023 and the headwinds that are being spoken about now, it's less of a supply issue, which is really where our restaurants struggled with COVID, and it's going to be more of a demand issue. So guests who might not have the pockets to be able to go out and dine. And I think that's where we want to listen to see where we can be most helpful, which could be creating experiences experiences and events, which has been a very powerful tool for us. It could be doing a private dining room series that we reserve and connecting our corporate customers to our Resy restaurants, which tends to work well. But really the tool is going to be listening to our restaurant partners and figuring out how we can bring them the value that they need to make it through on the other side.
Fantastic. I wanted to also, when we were preparing for this, I was, curious, obviously because Liftoff's in the app growth business. The way you look at growth, and you just touched upon it, and I was hoping you can double click into it a little bit. When you look at growth on the restaurant side and the user side, what are some of the channels or media strategies to grow either one? Can you give examples of both that B2B side as well as that D2C side?
Sure. So our business is a true network business, and we like to think about our company mission as creating the software and hospitality magic that connects the world's best guests with the world's best restaurants. We need both the guest and the restaurant. So as you touched on, we have to worry about chipping away at both sides of that equation. And for us on the restaurant side, it's really making sure that our product, our services, our marketing platform, which really Resy is for restaurants in terms of the guests and the curation, really meets the needs of the restaurant customer that we're looking for. And if we do that really well, the restaurant business it's a people business. So there's a lot of word of mouth, and it's figuring out, okay, I want to know where Carbone is, what platform Carbone is using, what platform is Lilia using, what platform is Mike Solomonov in Philly using. So it's really important for us to make sure that our product line and our marketing strategy is really delivering on what our restaurants want on that side. On the guest side, it's the restaurants that are the draw. Most of the guests that we acquire and our registered users come through the restaurants that we have on our platform. Another powerful thing is what we were doing this week with our experiences. We've seen a lift in 120% of registered users in Miami just this week alone from doing our surround sound experience and out of home that we have. So I think in order to grow our business, we need to be focused on growing both sides independently, but doing that by playing one another off of each other.
Awesome. What is one functionality of the app that we, or as Resy as a platform, that you don't believe, or maybe we're just not as aware of as we should be?
Yeah. So I think Notify is by far like my most favorite feature, and it actually works. So whenever there's a table or time that I have in mind or a date in the future, like my husband's 40th birthday that I was very last minute for, I will snag as many notifies and times that I can, and I usually get at least 1 to 2 hits, which is good. And I think some people are skeptical, so I encourage you to try out Notify. But I think from a brand perspective, our editorial is one of the most underutilized assets that we have. If you think about the DE&I panel that was on right before us, we use our editorial as a way to kind of tell the stories of the restaurants on our platform. So yes, curation of hit lists, climbing on Resy, and pointing out new openings, but also highlighting and shining a light on the different types of cuisine, cities that you need to eat at, chefs you need to dine with, or even things like how we encourage women to stay in hospitality by thinking about, like, after they have a baby, how can we help to support things like pump spotting, which encourage ways for women to kind of stay in the workforce and hospitality. So I think if there's one thing that I think is underutilized, it's our edit and how we can better bring that into our app and bring that into our web. And I would encourage all of you guys to check it out.
Awesome. So the theme for this week is innovation. In what areas of the advertising landscape are you most excited to see innovation come forth? Or on the flip side of that, where do you think us as an industry need to continue to innovate? General question, but
that's a big one. I mean, for us, we really believe in like our brand as our product and our asset, just as much as our software. I think for us, where we want to kind of innovate a bit more is really on deepening engagement and personalization. So as I think about where we do well, we spend a lot of time getting registered guests into our platform, and a lot of our marketing channels are quite effective at that. I think where we have opportunities to spend even more time is really thinking about how we get people to make their second reservation sooner, using our content, using our events, using restaurants that might be like-minded to what the initial restaurant was that brought them into the door. So I think what's interesting is you think about anything from like Web3 and some of the other different ways that we can touch our customers. I'm curious at anything that's going to help to really think about really engendering loyalty to Resy and getting people to want to book with us and really come to us for anything that's dining related.
Talk to me a little bit more about Web3, because to my left we hear the hooting and hollering and everyone's screaming and super excited about it. And I'm just curious. I don't really touch that space. So talk to me more about Web3. What are you excited about in that area?
Yeah, I think for us it's like more of like we haven't done anything in the space, to be clear. So we haven't done anything yet. But I think our restaurant partners are starting to dabble in different experiments that have cropped up within like the startup space, or trying to think about how they play with access to kind of get in to a restaurant. Is there something that you could do in that space? So I don't know that I'm best equipped to talk about it either at this point, but it's something that we have to pay attention to for our restaurant partners, because they're starting to trial and coming to us for some answers. I'm
kind of thinking about like a Web3 dining experience as like, everyone remember the movie Hook? Like when they're eating the fake food? So everyone's super happy, but it's not real, but everyone's smiling. Anyway, take that as you will.
There was a panel yesterday, and they talked about virtual tastings. So many jokes we can make about that.
Yeah, I'm going to stop there. Anyway, who has questions? Because that's all I have for Hannah, and I really do appreciate her time. So anyone have a question?
I'm coming.
Hi, thank you. I'm a big Resy fan. Thank you for everything you do. You helped me get a table at Lilia a couple months ago. Thank you for that. Going back to the Web3 stuff, American Express is a publicly traded company. I think something like 15% of the shareholders are technically retail investors. Are you looking at anything to tie in that retail investor into the fact that they own Amex and own a chunk of Resy, and how that kind of ties into some of the more global premium access and the relationship between the two?
Yeah, so we haven't looked at that like specific component as it relates to like Web3 and retail investment, but let me talk a little bit about the acquisition strategy of Resy and Amex. So again, when we thought about why we needed to acquire Resy, a lot of that is because of our premium card member suite, both on the B2B side and on the consumer side. And you saw that dining was a massive place where they were calling into concierge and looking to help figure out how to digitize that demand was an obvious play. But I think what we're seeing is like dining is really a foray for anyone's spend, for travel, for how they're engaging in anything in the lifestyle space. So as we look at things like Web3 or different forms of currency like an NFT getting into a restaurant, we need to figure out how to bridge that gap so that there's continuity and relevance between the card member base that we're looking to try and bring through the Resy experience a bit more.
I would suggest building virtual restaurants, having people frequent them all the time, and then when they go a bunch of times, they finally get access to the real one.
As long as the restaurant gets a cut of that, I guess that's okay. Maybe we should talk.
Brand equity. Any other questions? Gentleman in the green, you look like you've been thinking really hard. You want to ask something? No. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.